Hey, it's Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Welcome in. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We'll be here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics. As I continue to come to you from the Main Street Murray studios here in Columbia, Wade kicking it at the house. And as I said, Wade, off air, kind of expected you, David and I discussed it yesterday. We were expecting you to come in a Nashville nostalgia kit. Who is that you got on today instead?
No kit, but this is the 2025 Pride warm-up top, which their warm-up tops, if I'm being honest, are oftentimes better than the kits. I'm gonna whisper that though, but the ones they debuted last night, woo, those are good looking. But I just spent some coin at the team shop about a month ago, so I gotta space it out over the course. It's a long season.
I understand, and you got to space out the coin, especially when Mrs. Neely is kind of looking over the shoulder there, I imagine.
Yep. You gotta be careful with the purse strings, and make sure everything's on the up and up. So we got other events and activities that have already been accounted for. So we got to spend wisely, and yeah, you don't want to go all in just yet. Despite what we saw last night, like I said, it is a long season, and hopefully going to be a deep postseason run for NSC this year.
There we go. We'll be getting more into that as the show progresses, obviously. But we do have a big show, as big as it can be for as little as there is going on right now. But in the next hour, we will be visiting with former Ravenwood High School, former Tennessee State standout receiver, and current member of the UFL champion DC Defenders, Chris Rowland, again in hour number two. And apparently it is Ravenwood Day here on Main Street Sports Today, because in our next segment, Coach's Corner, we'll be visiting with former Ravenwood boys basketball coach, current Williamson County Schools Athletics Director, Patrick Whitlock. So looking forward to chatting with both those individuals here over the course of this show. We will also be talking some pro baseball, some women's basketball, both professional and collegiate. Um, Obviously, we are going to get to the events of last night over at Geodis Park. Also, a little hockey, some men's hoops, and of course, college football. It's right around the corner. We're going to check in on a couple of area conferences of interest. So stick around for all of that. And it is Throwback Thursday. We will be throwing it back to a recent conversation we had with Willie G. Ramirez talking WNBA. They've got their All-Star weekend coming up this weekend. The game will take place Sunday at Gainbridge Fieldhouse up in Indianapolis. They've had some adjustments to one of the rosters. We'll be talking a little bit more about that as well. But we'll be throwing it back in the top of the second hour to that conversation with Willie G. Ramirez out of Las Vegas. He's always fun to have on, and so looking forward to getting back to that conversation. Wade, what else we got? How's your Thursday? Have you been outside? If you have, it wasn't for long.
Yeah, been outside, did the usual dog walks, got the sweat going. I mean, it is a cooker. This is the precursor though for next week. NFL training camp starts up right when it's going to flirt with 100 degrees. May not get to triple digits, but it's going to be right around there. So this is kind of just a little bit of a warm up for the next little bit. But thankful to be indoors for the next couple of hours here.
Absolutely. It's a little bit of a respite. Hope y'all are comfortable wherever you are, or if you're not, hope you're hydrating. Stick around. We're going to have some fun as we typically do. So let's go ahead and get started, I guess, and get it out of the way. It won't take long. But let's get you yesterday's results on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Down is here, boys and girls, and we do wind back the clock to Wednesday scoreboard action in MLS. Nashville Soccer Club with a convincing 3-0 victory versus the visiting Columbus Crew. Good win for the boys in gold there. WNBA scores last night. Had some games on the hardwood, one going in Seattle's favor with a 67-58 win over Golden State. It was the Liberty defeating the Fever 98-77, and the Aces squeak by the lowly Dallas Wings 90-86. Good win though. They're all good if you're an Aces fan these days. But again, 90-86 was your final to cap our WNBA scoreboard.
Today's schedule, it's quite thin. The British Open opens up today. We'll talk more about this later in the show, but Harris English currently leads. He is 5 under through 13. He's a stroke up on Matt Fitzpatrick. Christian Christian B.
There we go.
Yeah, the Christian B. Jacob Scove Olison and Hao Tung Lai are all four under. They are in the clubhouse. Again, Harris English 5 under through 13 is the leader at this point at the British Open that is in progress. We'll get you more on that as the show progresses. But what we've got, ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Always by the fine folks over at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options, as well as their hand-cut meats. And everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Those deli options, by the way, are available from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. So get through there and check that out. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill in Columbia, bringing you our top story. We mentioned the WNBA All-Star Game is set for this weekend in Indianapolis. 3-point shooting contest, among other things. In addition to the game, Caitlin Clark, captain of Team Clark, will not be taking the floor, unfortunately. Referenced that groin injury that she re-aggravated. Did not play last night in the loss to the Liberty. Will not play this weekend. And, you know, it's really unfortunate. You want to see as many of the league's brightest stars as possible at an event like this. And for her to not be available is unfortunate. But also for the Fever, it's the best thing, I would imagine.
Yeah, kind of a mixed bag, right? If you're the Fever, you're obviously like, okay, we don't need you running the risk of any further injury after already battling through a couple bouts this season. On the other hand, yeah, for the league in general, it does feel like kind of a bummer for folks that were making the trip to Indy and wanting to see Caitlin in her home state and her home venue. That's a bit of a letdown as well. So if you shelled out a lot of coin to go to such game to see Caitlin Clark, you feeling pretty bummed out today. But I totally get the excitement, or not excitement, but the cautious optimism if you're a Fever fan. It is a long season. You're halfway through, a little over halfway through, but you got bigger fish to fry and you got more to worry about than a potential all-star game. So if you got somebody of her caliber, kind of the face of your franchise, then, you know, you're probably okay as a franchise with her missing this weekend.
Yeah. The Fever, in existence 26 years, this is their first opportunity to host the All-Star Game, and taking their biggest draw off the floor to everything you just said, Wade, is really unfortunate. I'm incredibly sad and disappointed to say I can't participate in the 3-point contest or the All-Star Game. I have to rest my body. I will still be at Gamebridge Fieldhouse for all the action, and I'm looking forward to helping Sandy Brundell coach our team to a win. So, yeah, it's a bummer. It's another way to put it. And, you know, Wade, you hear about folks who have gone to Memphis to see LeBron James who took a DNP, or, you know, folks going to exhibition games to see their favorite player and them not taking the floor. This falls right in line with that. It's except she didn't opt out. And, you know, you wouldn't expect her to miss this for any other reason besides an injury that, you know, really groin injuries, again, as David and I talked on yesterday's show, groin injuries, muscle injuries are really tough because you never know if they're fully healed until you find out they're not, basically.
Yeah, and it's been a tough season thus far. You know, she has missed as many games, 11, almost as many as she has played, 12. So, I mean, it has been a frustrating season. Really the first real bout with injury that we've seen seemingly since she kind of burst onto the scene that junior year at Iowa. So, I mean, we're talking about a tough spot. She would have liked to have given it a go. Maybe not even in the game, but maybe in the 3-point contest. You remember she turned down the opportunity to participate in NBA All-Star Weekend this year, saying she wanted to put on a show for the WNBA fans and for their brand. So, and it was set to be kind of a special moment, kind of like we saw with Steph Curry hosting everybody in a sense when it was at the Chase Center this year in the NBA All-Star Weekend. Caitlin was kind of set to do the same this weekend in Indy, but wasn't meant to be. And yeah, back to the original point. If you're an exec of the franchise, you're a little sad, you're a little disappointed, but you got your eyes on not just this season but beyond, and that is really kind of the more important thing.
Missed 5 games in late May and early June with a quad injury. She missed 4 games earlier this year with this groin injury, and again, re-aggravated it Tuesday night. And it's tough to get by those soft tissue injuries, and hopefully she can take the time that she needs to get that addressed and get back on the floor for, Indiana to make a push toward the playoffs and that kind of thing. She's not the only all-star who has been ruled out for Saturday. Satou Sabally is dealing with an ankle injury and will not play either. She was set to start along with Clark, Aja Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, and Aaliyah Boston for Team Clark. So not sure who the replacements for those two are. I'm sure it's out there, but I don't have that at my disposal at this time. But, game's still going to be worth watching. A lot of folks won't because of who's not. But, as Josh Heupel said earlier this week at SEC Football Media Days, we worry about who's in the building. So I think it will still be a compelling watch and should be a lot of fun, starting with 3-point contest tomorrow night. We're going to get Doug Feinberg from the Associated Press tomorrow afternoon to talk more about the weekend and the first half of the WNBA's regular season. So looking forward to that as well. But no Caitlin in Indianapolis this weekend, and it's a tough blow for the league, I would think. So
tough blow for them, yeah, and you kind of summed it up right there. I mean, for the vast majority of non-diehard WNBA fans, yeah, you were tuning in to kind of see Caitlin. I mean, this is perfectly catered for her, right? I mean, this is a exhibition game where everybody's running, everybody's gunning. You get a chance to see her pull up from the logo. Not that she wouldn't anyway, but a chance to really kind of pull up unimpeded there from the logo. And if you're a casual fan, you're the one that really kind of suffers in this because you might be clicking through the dial this weekend trying to beat the heat or looking for something. And, that was probably going to be enough to pull in a lot of casual fans, but they will be kind of probably on the outside looking in. Hopefully there's still at least a little bit of extra interest from a league standpoint, but that kind of is who they're going to miss. I feel like in this target right here is the casual fan that was maybe only going to tune in. Imagine you tune in and you immediately see her dish out a sweet pass or drain one, like I said, from the logo. You're going to stick around and kind of watch to see what's next. And if that's not there to kind of grab you initially, I don't know that it'll be a very fascinating case study on ratings next week. A lot of people get deep in the weeds on the ratings. I'm not really one to do so, but it will be interesting when they come out.
Yeah. Meanwhile, also set to miss this weekend's game is Atlanta Dream guard Ron Howard. Now, Kayla McBride from the Lynx has been named to replace Howard on Team Collier. So you got another Lynx player playing with Nafisa and under Cheryl Reeve in that one. So, but I'm not sure who is taking the place of Sabally or Clark just yet. Hopefully we can come up with that. I'm sure it's out. Find it right now. But WNBA All-Star Game set for Saturday night in Indianapolis. 3-point contest and other skill events will be taking place tomorrow. And again, we will have Doug Feinberg from the AP to talk about all of it tomorrow afternoon. So be sure and check in that. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Throwback Thursday is off and running. When we come back, it'll be Coach's Corner, where we visit with Williamson County Schools. Look around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
333.
Bee, oh, busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now I'm ready,
busy bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Welcome back into the Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. It's time for Coach's Corner, and we're pleased to have with us former coach, new athletics director for Williamson County Schools, Patrick Whitlock, joining us. Coach, good afternoon.
How's it going, guys? Appreciate you
What's
having
up?
me.
I appreciate you joining us, man. So what was it like not going to camp?
Well, I did get to coach for a few days as I was in the interview process for this job, but that got stopped about halfway through the summer, and I had to go in on a Friday and tell my team that I wasn't coming back. So that was probably one of the tougher things I've had to do. But, this was an opportunity that came about and one you really can't turn down. So I'm excited for this new chapter as I move forward here.
You know, as you consider, Patrick, the idea of not interacting with kids on a day-to-day basis as you have for the last 19 years, I'm sure that was that's certainly a different realm for you. What is the attraction for this job against that backdrop?
I think just really a new challenge. I mean, anytime you've been in a place for 19 years, being at Ravenwood, that's kind of an outlier. There's just not a lot of people, particularly in the coaching profession, that stay at a place for 19 years, particularly in Williamson County. And I just kind of saw this as a new challenge. Obviously, I knew my predecessors pretty well. I'm close with Jeremy Qualls and Darren Joins. And, just seeing, what they got out of the job made it appealing. But also the aspect of not being able to interact with kids on a daily basis is something I'm going to, seriously miss. I mean, I've thought about that. The first day of school is going to be weird. When I go back and visit Ravenwood and walk into a gym and watch somebody else coach my team, that's going to be weird. So I will definitely miss the interaction with the kids. But, I've got a chance to make an impact on a broader scale now. And, just accept this challenge and kind of see if I can continue the momentum that this school district has had for many years.
Yeah, when you put it into context like that, Coach, taking over and now with the chance to, as you just said, make a broader impact, that to me is kind of one of those vague ideas that, man, I could really get lost in the weeds thinking about that. I'm curious, what's going to be your first couple basic things you'd like to kind of maybe get done as you begin this new chapter?
Well, I mean, if we're just being candid, like the first year is all about survival. The job isn't broken. There's nothing to fix. It's got a lot of momentum. So kind of just keeping things on level ground. And I don't anticipate to make any like major moves in year one. I mean, there's some different things on the table. But some streaming contracts about how we're going to get our digital content out and things like that. There could be some changes there. But really just kind of maintaining in year one, building relationships with people I don't know. I'm not just in charge of the high schools. I'm also in charge of the middle schools, and the bulk of my experience, all of my experience has been at the high school level. So getting out in the schools, building relationships with the people that I don't know is going to be the biggest priority in year one, and just making sure that the transition is smooth. And, this time next year, perhaps if I get to talk to you guys again, we can be talking about maybe some significant changes, but nothing is broken right now. So I want to just make sure that, it's kind of year one, don't screw anything up.
That's an interesting approach. That's an interesting philosophy, Patrick, because you mentioned Jeremy Qualls, you mentioned Darren Joins. How do you resist, the new sheriff in town mentality of this? I mean, like you said, there's nothing broke. Everything seems to be moving in the right direction with athletics in Williamson County. How do you not do something to kind of put your stamp on things?
Well, I mean, I'm not Jeremy and I'm not Darren. I mean, Darren, obviously kind of a smooth operator, a really good person in terms of like media and portraying himself, as was Jeremy. Jeremy's kind of an innovator. Jeremy made this job essentially what it is. I mean, it was kind of before he took it, it was just a figurehead job, kind of pushing paper, and he added the media aspect to it. And that's something that I'm going to have to, is going to be a work in progress. I think what sets Williamson County apart is they did a really good job of the media piece, which in reality, that is just an extra part to this job that other people don't, other districts don't have. Other districts do the things behind the scenes, approving field trips, scheduling games, facilities, etc. But the media piece that Williamson County has is kind of special. So having to embrace that role and put my stamp on that. My show will look different from the one that Jeremy and Darren did. My personality is a little bit different. So, I mean, there will be some differences, but in terms of changing the structure, I don't see anything major happening over the next several months.
Patrick Whitlock, new Williamson County Athletics Director, on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Patrick, you talked about a new challenge, 19 seasons again at Ravenwood. Kind of easy to maybe get a little stagnant, not saying that you did, but I mean, as you think about that aspect, stepping away from that, other than telling your kids, what was tough? What do you anticipate being tough? You talked about stepping into the gym and seeing somebody else coaching your team, but just the day-to-day aspect of that, where would you expect to maybe be a little shaken, I guess?
There's always things when you're in a position like this that are going to come up. I kind of joke with people at Ravenwood. I got to hear, maybe 20 families' complaints. Now I get to hear potentially 30,000 families' complaints about stuff. I've been a pretty available person my entire life. Having to tell people no is something I'm definitely going to have to work on, because I've always kind of been available and willing to listen to people. And just honestly, the whirlwind of the last month of people consistently calling, wanting to meet, wanting to have conversations about what their thoughts are. You don't want to blow anybody off, but also, you want to make sure you're using your time wisely, and you can't just be accommodating to everybody. So from the day-to-day perspective, that's going to be tough. Ravenwood was kind of my family. A lot of my friendships and people that I would spend time with socially were there. So that's a little bit of a change. But everybody at central office has been extremely helpful, and it's been a very smooth transition. And, I get up every morning, not being run by a bell, not having to rush out my door at 6:45 every morning to make sure I'm at Ravenwood by 7:05 to get ready to teach and things like that. So there's really some significant differences from going kind of as a full-time educator to a little bit more of a professional role that, I'm still trying to wrap my brain around.
You mentioned obviously the coaching aspect kind of departing, but just now when you referenced teaching, what's maybe one or two other things that you think already that you're really maybe going to miss about kind of being in that on-campus 24/7 type environment?
Well, it's not just the teaching and the coaching aspects. I referenced the relationships a minute ago, but also just the interaction with students that maybe aren't in your class, things of that nature. I think it goes without saying, like, there's a pretty significant mental health crisis going on with kids that are roughly 16 to 25. And having the chance to impact those kids in a variety of ways was really meaningful to me. So, but just the daily structure of not just being run in 50-minute increments through a bell every day, and having your schedule being so structured and indicative of what you have to do on a daily basis, where I could show up at work tomorrow and think, well, I don't have a lot on my agenda today, and that can change rather quickly in this job.
Yeah, instead of a classroom bell, now it's more of a cell phone ding. It sounds like, hey, you got this meeting coming up in 10 minutes, or you got to use Zoom, you got to hurry up and get to. I imagine it's going to be a little similar, but just kind of in a different stroke, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a much better job of waking up in the morning and looking at my Outlook calendar to see what's on the agenda for the day, because, you schedule so many meetings in advance, things can creep up on you pretty quick. But I in terms of talking on the phone, I probably talked on the phone more in the first 2 weeks, like physically on the phone, than I did in the last 2 years. So there have been a lot of phone conversations over the last couple of weeks.
Patrick, you handed things off to a guy who's been an assistant for you for the last 7 years, Chris Hooper, the new coach of the Raptors. What do you feel like you left him?
Well, he was very fortunate to get a little bit of an infusion of talent. We joke about the transfer portal at the high school level, and obviously that dynamic has changed pretty significantly. But you got a couple of transfers from Lipscomb Academy, Brooks Brown and Danny Brown. Danny Brown will be a senior and will be an impact kid right away. Brooks will factor into that lineup as well. He's got some good kids coming back. Isaac Brent, who will be a senior, who'll be very productive. Will McCarter, Matt Nava. He's got a pretty good influx of talent. And then they've also got a kid that I never got to coach that just arrived last week, Sam Steppen, who was District Player of the Year in San Jose in California, who will be a senior. So he's going to have some talent to work with. He's a very talented coach. He's one of my closest friends. He deserved this opportunity. He's had some head coaching stops before that, probably from a record standpoint, don't look as impressive as they should, because at the time when he took those jobs, they weren't really good jobs. This is the first opportunity he's had to really have a good job, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do with it, and I know he's going to be successful, and I'm very excited for them, even though, as we all know, I'll be an impartial observer since I'm in the district athletic director role throughout the rest of the season.
Basketball in that district is going to look a lot different. There's been a few departures across that district this time around. So, for fans of 10-4A, it's going to be a little bit of a shock to walk in the gym and not see you and not see Jeremy Moore at Centennial and some of the other changes that have taken place. Kind of a new era, I guess, rolling out.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they broke the district up again. So, we've got Franklin, Centennial, Ravenwood, Brentwood, and Nolansville in one district. And then the other side of the region is Independent, Summit, Page, and now Columbia Central back in the mix. So it's going to be a different dynamic. The sub-state matchup has changed. So that would be the teams I just listed would be the region. And now the sub-state goes through Murfreesboro. So that's always a tough out right there. So it's going to be a little different. In terms of overall talent, basketball-wise in the district, I think there's probably going to be a little bit of a drop. But I don't think it's going to be as noticeable as people think. Because people ask me what's changed in my 19 years in Williamson County. We've always had some good coaches, but right now I feel like the level of coaching in this county is elite, and I think it's really, really good. And when I've talked to principals and they ask for advice from me about what can we do to have a successful athletic program, I said it's all about the coaches you hire. That's the only thing you can really control. You really can't control who's walking in and out of that building in a public school. So we've been very successful in assembling a really talented lineup of coaches, not just in basketball, but across the board.
That's an interesting point that you make, Patrick, and it leads me to the question again, as County AD in Williamson County, how involved would you expect to be in coaching hires? Would you anticipate principals and school ADs soliciting your input in those situations, or is that strictly a school decision and you're just kind of hovering?
I mean, that's a school decision, and how I've offered up that I'm happy to take place in any interview process they want me to. I've been involved in some interviews at Centennial High School already, but I think my role is more of, if you're looking at the college model, it's more of a search firm type role. I'm constantly looking for like good coaching talent and trying to develop relationships with people that would be interested in coming here. And if coaches or athletic directors or principals want me to vet candidates or offer advice or point them in the right direction, I'm more than happy to do that. But in reality, our principals are really, really smart, and they've done a pretty good job without a lot of input from this role. So I'm just there in a supplemental way if needed.
We mentioned basketball a little bit, Coach. Are you brushed up on your volleyball and soccer before you get diving into the fall sports calendar here?
I coached at Pepperdine for 5 years, and that was kind of my first real exposure to volleyball. And I was actually a really big volleyball fan while I was out there. Got really tight with their men's coach, Marv Dunphy, who's kind of a legend in that profession. So I feel pretty good about my volleyball knowledge, and I've always kind of been a low-key soccer fan. And I was AD at Ravenwood for 8 years, so I was out at a lot of events then too. So I'm not too worried about that, but there are probably some things that I have to brush up on here and there with some sports. So I'm not overly familiar with lacrosse, so when that comes around, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve there.
You're good news, Coach. Coach, nobody is. So you're in good company there. There's only a few elite handfuls that know all the real ins and outs of that. So I feel like you're in decent shape there.
No doubt.
Patrick, you're not the only noteworthy Ravenwood coach to be departing that campus. Will Hester stepping into a middle school administration role earlier this year. I mean, it's really a new day over there.
It is. I knew Will was wanting to get into administration. He was a lot like me. I think he wanted to coach one more year. I really wanted to coach one more year. But in his situation, the job where he went to middle school came open, a great situation for him, close to his house, to get into administration with a principal that he had worked with before. And, in education, it's all about relationships and working for people that you are familiar with and respect. So I think it was something that he really had to pursue. But, he left a pretty talented Ravenwood team behind. I think they will probably be one of the favorites in 6A. Along with, the crosstown rival Brentwood over there. And I expect some other schools in Williamson County to make some noise as well.
Yeah. Interesting situation with Ricky Rodriguez ascending to that head coaching role with boys tackle football after winning the girls flag football state invitational championship this past spring. Opportunity to pull off a rare double, obviously, for him. No pressure, though, Ricky.
Yeah, no pressure at all. I mean, I think he felt the pressure day one. He knew what a coveted job that was, and being able to get that job, he was obviously ecstatic. But he's a good relationship person. He kept most of that staff intact. He's a great motivator, and I think he'll be very successful. They have a very difficult schedule. They're going down to Madison, Mississippi to play their opening game, and that's a traditional powerhouse down there. They've got Lipscomb Academy on the schedule as well, not to mention Oakland, and then the gauntlet that they have to run within their region. So it's not going to be easy on him, but it's one of those situations where he could go 7-3 in the regular season and then make a run because they're so battle tested.
Yeah. In your new role, Who have you had a chance to interact with, maybe who you maybe didn't know or hadn't had a chance to be around previously that you've really enjoyed or been impressed by?
You know, being around the high school level for 19 years, I've got most of my relationships are in high school. I've been dealing with the middle schools quite a bit because I just don't know that group very well. So yeah, I would say probably I got to have a phone conversation or a Zoom conversation yesterday with Coach Hughes out at Fairview. I do not know him very well. You know, he's trying to get girls flag football going at the middle school level, and he is very passionate about that and was very direct about that. And we had a really good conversation, and it looks like he's going to spearhead that. So in my very short tenure of talking to people, I would say he's probably somebody that's kind of stuck out a little bit because he is very passionate about what he does. And, you know, dipping into the middle school level for anything is not always easy, but he seems to be the catalyst behind that happening.
I've known Chris for 40 years, and it's not a shock to me at all that he is the person that has stuck out to you. He is definitely very passionate about his girls flag football, has done some stuff on the national level. Obviously, he's played the game at its highest level, and he is a flag football. I don't know the perfect word to describe it, but ambassador, I guess maybe. And so middle school girls flag football, is that getting ready to be a thing?
It is on the table. Allegedly, or apparently, they already have it in Dixon County, and that was kind of the driving force behind Coach Hughes wanting to introduce that. So I got on a Zoom call with the Fairview Middle AD, Coach Hughes, and the principal yesterday, and we're trying to put together kind of a little committee here in the next few weeks, talk about the feasibility of that. But knowing the people in our county, I think that'll come to fruition here in the spring.
This spring?
Yes.
That's pretty quick
He is
ramp up.
adamant. He is adamant that we can make that happen in the spring. So I'm all in on it. I think it'll be a great endeavor for our programs.
Wow, that'd be fantastic. Patrick Whitlock, you said you weren't going to change anything. Now here you go.
Well, hey, that's on the guidance of somebody else right there. So that's an easy one. That's an easy one.
Coach, with that kind of being said, Williamson County's obviously got such a great reputation for kind of thinking outside the box and kind of really stretching what might be available or achieve underachievement there for our student athletes. Do you have already, maybe you don't have to necessarily reveal them unless you're comfortable, do you have any kind of big picture ideas, you know, like further expanding either partnerships? You mentioned kind of leveraging some streaming rights. It seems like you are in a great spot to kind of really, again, kind of think outside the box in terms of how you guys approach a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think in terms of our advertising endeavors of how we have raised money, particularly as a district, the schools do fine. But as a district, I think there's some low-hanging fruit there, and that's some things really Darren kind of got off the ground before I came in, and it's now going to be my job to capitalize on it. We've had a contract with NFHS for a very long time in terms of streaming our games. They've got a proposal on the table. Huddle, which is kind of the entity that most of our coaches use for film breakdown and things of that, is trying to get in the streaming game, and they desperately want Williamson County to be kind of their pilot program for that. So that's on the table. But I also think, you know, some of the bigger issues for me, and this is no secret, is facility-wise, despite that we have these big, beautiful schools, from an athletic standpoint, there are some areas that are lacking. And we have to find a way to make that happen. We're not just going to magically come up with $50 million to put field houses on every campus and things of that nature. But I do think in the future there are going to be some ways we have to get creative to maximize our facilities. Mm-hmm. I also think coach retention is a big part. I think our salaries, credit to our school board and our superintendent, the salaries are starting to get more competitive with surrounding counties. And I think our coaching stipends are fair, but you know, we've lost a lot of coaches historically to private schools. And a lot of times there might not be anything you can do about that, but we want to make sure that we're giving our coaches the resources and the tools to where they can use their time wisely and maximize their time and make, you know, Williamson County a destination for them rather than a stepping stone. So, those would just be a few things I would highlight there that I'm passionate about because I've lived it for 19 years. But, like I said, you can control your coaches in the building. And if we can retain our great coaches, then we're going to be in great shape.
Patrick, if I, as a journalist who finds himself often on Williamson County campuses, can make one request, can y'all do something about the internet?
Yes, we. Yeah, I didn't stay at work today to do this interview. That's what I will tell you. We have great people that work in our IT department, but the internet capability, particularly in our gyms and really non-existent in our stadiums, is a little bit tough. So that has been brought to my attention. You're not the first person to bring that up. And, we want to keep the media happy. So I'm definitely going to do what I can on that.
Well played.
We appreciate that. Patrick Whitlock, Athletics Director for Williamson County Schools, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia on Coach's Corner. P. Whitty, we appreciate you, man. Congratulations.
Well, thanks a lot. Big fans of you guys, and I appreciate you guys having me on. I'll be happy to come on anytime.
Thank you, sir.
stuff.
We'll be
Thank
taking
you.
you up on that.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
All right. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. When we come back, we'll talk a little baseball. Stick around.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
They walk among us, but at 240 miles per hour, they become something more. They're thrill seekers, risk takers, and maybe just a little bit unhinged. Buckle up. This new era of speed, this racing revolution, it's just getting started.
July 17th, 1991, the host Braves put up crooked numbers in 3 different innings en route to a 12-2 win over the Chicago Cubs. But the highlight of the day may have been when 2 overexuberant and likely overserved fans ran onto the field at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium and slid into home plate naked. Both fans were subsequently subdued by stadium security guards. Ron Gant went 3 for 4 with a double and 3 runs scored, with Terry Pendleton adding a home run in the decisive victory. That was this day in Braves history, and that's a sight that I can do without. So, anyway, All-Star game Tuesday night. Off day yesterday, off day today. Major League Baseball gets cranked back up in full force tomorrow, and the Braves open a 3-game series against the visiting Yankees at Truist Park. Yankees 10 games over 500. Braves 11 games under 500. 6:15 first pitch, and so, of course, Max Fried going to the bump at Truist Park against his former team. The left-hander 11-3 with a 2.43 earned run average, one of the better pitchers in the American League. Suddenly, Spencer Strider getting the start for Atlanta tomorrow, 3-7 with a 3.94. And man, we talked a little bit about this with Donnell Suggs yesterday, but I mean, you knew that we were going to see Max Fried at some time during this series. There's no way not to. No getting around it. And with the way the Braves have struggled, it does not loom to be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, like you said, coming out of the All-Star break, Yankees pretty much get to set their rotation the way they want. It seemed inevitable that this guy will make an appearance, and you know we've seen some folks strut back into some old buildings and dazzle and deliver some key performances. So this is a big series. These first couple games for Atlanta. It feels like if you're going to make any sort of push at all, you'll get kind of an indication early, and you got a big test to start things out.
Without question. And obviously, I mean, the Braves, again, as we talked to Donnell yesterday, they got to string together some wins. They looked a little bit better offensively on this last road trip, 3-3 to the Athletics and to the Cardinals. Generated some power, although a lot of those home runs came in a relatively small facility out at West Sacramento. They still hit some balls hard and deep at St. Louis over the weekend. So, I don't know. Maybe things are getting ready to turn around. Maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe it's a train. But to me, again, as David and I talked to Donnell yesterday, Wade, I think the bigger concern for this team is where is the pitching going to come from? Again, with Sale out for an indefinite period of time, with Schwellenbach out for an indefinite period of time, you don't know if you're going to get those guys back. You don't know how they're going to be should they come back. Strider coming off of an injury, I think maybe there were over expectations for him coming off of that injury. He struggled, but he's been better at spots. But again, when you're putting your hopes in an injured, coming off of injury, Spencer Strider, a guy who has, again, pitched beyond his expectations or expectations for him in Grant Holmes, and then basically 3 bullpen starts. How do you realistically anticipate making a run?
Yeah, and like I said, the schedule not necessarily great to start. You got 3 versus New York, then 3 versus San Francisco. Well, luckily all at home. But this will be a key stretch. Do get a little relief in the sense of Texas, Kansas City, and Cincinnati kind of on the horizon. But again, kind of like at the start of the season, the first couple games right out of the gate may determine whether that really, and I'm going to be fascinated to see, if there is a tipping point, whether that means a managerial move or whether that means buyers becoming sellers, or how much of a seller do you become? There's a lot of questions kind of potentially that will be answered, and really over these next 14 days or so, it seems like.
Yeah, I think as much as how much of a seller do you become is who do you sell? Again, as you look at this roster right now, I'm not sure that the most coveted players would be available, and I'm not sure that the players that would be available or might be available are particularly coveted. So I think that's kind of where Atlanta is. I think that there might be some guys that you might would want to move, but I don't know necessarily what you would get for them. So I think that's where the challenge is going to come from for Alex Anthopoulos as they, assess this situation here over the next couple of weeks. And again, it is exactly 2 weeks from today to the deadline. So like you said, there are some decisions that are going to have to be made one way or the other, or they're going to get made for you fairly quickly here. Meanwhile, The Astros leading the AL West despite their little hiccup here over the last week, 56-40 as they go to second place Seattle, exactly 5 games ahead of the Mariners, going into a 9-10 matchup tomorrow night. It'll be Brandon Walter and Luis Castillo. Walter 1-2 with a 3.98 earned run average. Castillo 6-5 with a 3.41. But this is a chance for Houston to really put some distance between themselves and everybody.
Yeah, this series could really allow them to kind of put a stamp on everybody else in that division. On the other hand, if you get cute or you drop one, drop two, or even potentially get swept, now all of a sudden it is really a series. And again, same deal. Seattle's a team. No one is going to be surprised if a team like Seattle, or even Houston for that matter, kind of makes a move to try and improve themselves for a postseason run. And just because you're, as you said, 5 games ahead today, Seattle's not just going to pack it up. In worst case, you're gunning for a wild card berth and a chance. So this feels like it was great. It was another kind of classic run, kind of like we saw last summer from Houston. Can the juice kind of get back in the clubhouse there and kind of keep them rolling? This will be a big set coming out of the break.
Braves are, but the Astros dealing with their share of injuries as well.
Yeah, it's been a mash unit of sorts for Houston up and down this season. Had issues to the rotation, had issues to the bullpen, had issues in the lineup. That's the only kind of real glimmer of hope as far as maybe you squeak in one last little deep postseason run here, and it will kind of hinge on, can you get everybody back healthy and kind of on the same page, but also maybe if that's not going to be the case, is who can you bring in? It feels like they've swung for the fences a number of different times in their franchise history at the deadline. It almost, to me, feels like they don't have that ace in the hole at their disposal anymore for some reason. Maybe I'm wrong. But then again, we saw him make a deal for Kikuchi last year, who was kind of trending downward in Toronto, and then boom, he suddenly had a fantastic close to the regular season. So if they can get a little health, if maybe they can make a little push at the trade deadline, they could be a player, and maybe, just maybe, that window kind of stays open at least one more year for them.
I'm really fascinated by how quickly they're able to get Jeremy Pena back at shortstop. He went out, I guess, about a week or so ago, and had really seemed to kind of solidify things for them in the middle of the infield and in that offense.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's going to at least be a go to start this series. May potentially make a run at it Saturday or Sunday, it sounds like. Just reading some quotes from Dana Brown, their GM. Also, you got Alvarez still lingering there. He's slowly kind of getting back into the mix. Spencer Arrighetti kind of a few rehab assignments away from maybe sneaking back in. So they've got some guys that could. If everybody came back and played at their full strength and at their capacity, you don't necessarily need to make a ton of moves. But the question is, will you be able to get them back and at that full strength? That's kind of the real puzzle that needs to be put together by Dana Brown.
Yeah. The Nashville Sounds head north on 65 to Indianapolis to resume play. They will be in a 3-game series against the Indians, the Pittsburgh Pirates AAA affiliate, up there starting tomorrow night at 6:35. Again, you can hear them on 94.9. So be sure and keep up with the Sounds there. Very odd situation in a California courtroom earlier this week. Dan Serafini, first-round pick of the Minnesota Twins at one time, convicted of murder and attempted murder after killing. He was convicted of killing his father-in-law and attempting to kill his mother-in-law 4 years ago. 2-month trial, found guilty in Placer County, California. Apparently was waiting in the in-law's home and ambushed him. 2-year investigation. I just cannot fathom anything quite like that. That's pretty unbelievable. 51-year-old Dan Serafini convicted of murder and attempted murder earlier this week. The trial ended about a week ago. The jury deliberated for 3 days. He is still in custody and could be sentenced to life. Again, former major leaguer, reached the majors in 1996, pitched for the Twins, Cubs, Pirates, Reds, Rockies, and Padres, completing his career back in 2007. Ugh.
Yeah, nothing about that story is good. Man, that is a grim kind of picture being painted there. And oof, yeah, I can't even imagine that. Everything about that just kind of gives you the ick.
Yeah, without question. It's nothing that you expect to hear, again, from a person who has had the accomplishments that he's clearly had. You just don't expect to hear that. That's tragic and really crazy. Wow. That's going to do it for hour number 1 here on Throwback Thursday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back for hour number 2, again, it is Throwback Thursday. We're going to be throwing it back to a recent conversation we had with Willie G. Ramirez from Vegas, talking a little WNBA. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
What's up, man? How are you doing?
Doing good. Had some NBA last night. Was out at Cooper Flagg's debut against Bronny James and the Lakers. Packed house, and just doing a couple of shows today, including yours, and going to get a workout in. And then tomorrow we got a packed day in Las Vegas with the NBA Summer League continuing, but the WNBA in the matinee. And then there's a charity softball game that takes place every summer. The Vegas Golden Knights against the Las Vegas Raiders. Proceeds to benefit several different charities around the valley, and it's usually a good time. I actually haven't gone out to any of the games yet. I think this is the 5th year, I want to say. So I'll be going out there tomorrow night to catch up with some of the players before the Raiders get going in a couple of weeks in training camp, and the Golden Knights in a couple of months.
You sound like you got a busy one ahead of you. We were just talking about the Cooper Flag Summer League debut in the last segment. And to Wade's point, how much do you think we're going to see Cooper Flag in Summer League action?
Considering I talked to Jason Kidd before the game, and he said that that he's had enough game film that he wants to see him on the court. And by the sounds of the summer league coach and Cooper Flag himself, it sounds like they want to get enough time in. He played a lot last night. He played 31 minutes of the 40, 31 and change. I think it was 31-43 of the 40 minutes. I don't know if we're going to see as much game time, but I do think that he'll be in several games. And if they continue to win and get past pool play and get into the tournament side of things, I think that they're going to try to win it. You know what I mean? But I think right now they're trying to build chemistry with what's a young team and figure some things out. And so I think that we'll see him a lot. I just think that the game time, the minutes played, will decrease as they move along, and he won't play as much. It was the opening night. It was against the Lakers, Bronny James. It was a good game, came down to the end. So, yeah, I don't know if they're going to extend and risk injury extending time, but I think we'll see enough of him where he'll get some playing time.
Yeah, to my point a minute ago, Willie, if you're a Mavs fan, okay, you want to see him in uniform just so you know that it was real and that you actually got the Cooper Flag sweepstakes in your favor. But after that, I don't want to see him anymore because I've still got PTSD from the trade, and I just want this guy to arrive nice and neat when the season starts.
Right. If you were so they talked about it last night at the post-game press conference in terms of the way they were defending him. They were trapping him. They were double teaming him. They were, they were physical, but it wasn't the kind of physical that's going to, cause injury. There were times where they were laying off and they were, they weren't necessarily pressuring. I think it was more or less being aggressive because it was opening night. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much they're going to do that. He might be told to slow things down, to not be as aggressive, because he really was attacking the rim, attacking the paint. He wanted to be involved a lot. So, again, I don't know how much that's going to last because of at the point that you made. But, at some point they got to get out there. I understand. I always understand that philosophy from exhibition to but they run the risk in regular season as much as they run it in any other given time. They got to see him in action. So, you get him out there. That's why I'm saying for playing time purposes, each game, maybe get him out there, get what you need to get. And then, if they don't have any desire to win the NBA Summer League, then, don't worry about what the score is. And if it's close or not, and you want to put in your best guns, then just get him in, get him out, play him a quarter here or there, or play him the first half of one quarter, the second half of the next. But again, you either shut him down entirely or don't go, half speed with it, because if you're playing 31 minutes or 17 minutes, you're running the risk of injury at any given time. If you put him in for 2 minutes, you're running the risk of an injury. So there's only so much you can coddle and baby a professional athlete. I'm always of that mindset. I get the idea behind it. Between summer league, preseason games in the NFL, you got exhibition, the 2-3 preseason games. They're always under the risk of an injury. Could be week 1, game 1. Mm-hmm. So, but you got to see what you need to see.
Willie, shifting gears. I saw a headline somewhere online earlier this week, and for Wade and I, it's kind of eye-catching, and we're hoping you can give us a little more insight into it. The Aces play Golden State tomorrow night. The Aces are tomorrow afternoon, 3:00 tip our time. But the Aces 9-11 going into that ball game, and saw something about their window closing. What is the thought around Las Vegas right now? Where are the Aces? What's going on with them? Obviously, Becky Hammond got some frustration going there.
Yeah, it's really hard to make of it. I think there's a collection of things that the problem is that it's not like one thing collectively as a team. I think it's a multitude. I think what we're seeing are a multitude of problems, right? A multitude of issues that can't be corrected as one. They have to be corrected one by one that I don't think Becky foresaw. I keep seeing headlines, get rid of Becky, her time has run out. I keep seeing, different, everyone's got a resolution. And I just don't, the one thing is Becky's not done. It's not, she hasn't run her course. She hasn't lost the locker room. I think that we're seeing, a collection of things with this team that nobody thought was going to take place. Let's start with Chelsea Gray. I was on the, Chelsea Gray bandwagon coming out of Unrivaled. She wins the MVP after she leads the Rose BC to the championship. Everyone knew that she was injured last season. She played through it, did the best she could, went to Paris injured. Wasn't an easy season for her. She said that she came back fully healthy. She's feeling great. What I don't think anybody expected, and I don't think that you can prepare for, coach for, is Chelsea Gray has lost a step. And I didn't realize it until I saw them play the Washington Mystics a couple of weeks back. Not the game that they lost the other night, but a couple of weeks back when Shug Sutton took Chelsea Gray to the hole several times, and you could just see that she just wasn't catching up to that first step. And Shug Sutton is a very underrated player, and she's got a quick foot step, but there are better players than Shug. You have your top tier players, you have your really good players, and you have your developing players. And Shug's right there. She's worked her tail off to get where she's at. But there are top tier players that Chelsea Gray is going to have to stop also. So I tend to think that Chelsea Gray may have lost a step defensively on defense. She's still, in my opinion, if I have one game and I need the best passer in the game, I hate to tell all you Caitlin Clark fans, I'm taking Chelsea Gray. She can pass better than anybody in the league. If you give her one game to prepare for, one opponent, I'm taking her passing skills. But the defensive side of things, I think she's lost a step. And she's still clutch with that mid-range fadeaway where she just pops up and you're just not going to defend her. Jackie Young is not having the best year, especially on defense. Jewel Lloyd is having one of her career worst offensive. Now she's improved the last two games, I will say that, but she's having a down year offensively. Becky Hammond said that she's doing things off the ball that are that's helping the team, and she says helping the team win and find its identity. The problem is the team's 9-11, and Becky Hammond, prior to making that statement, had just said we're still trying to figure out who we are. Well, mid-season or a quarter way through the season, you can't do that. So right there is you're supposed to be your big four. From there, it's a brand new basketball team outside of Kirsten Bell, who comes off the bench, like third, fourth off the bench, whenever it may be, sometimes second, sometimes third. It's a brand new team. Dana Evans, Aaliyah Nye, Kirsten Bell, Megan Gustafson debuted last night. Liz Kitley's gone, right? They had to waive her. Now you got Melissa Smith in the mix. So it's a collection of very complex issues with this team that I think Becky is trying to manage as one, and it's not working because you can't. The only thing I haven't mentioned is Asia Wilson. And Asia Wilson is dang near the most perfect basketball player that you could ask for, but she cannot continue to shoulder the burden on her own every single game, which she is doing. And she's never going to blame her teammates for that. The problem is that if you can't get all those individual issues that are taking place that you can't fix with one big Band-Aid, then Asia Wilson is going to wear her body down, which we're seeing. She's already been out with a concussion for 3 games. Now she's out with this wrist injury. And guys, it may not be broken, but those ligaments are small. And I just tweeted out, I had a conversation with a leading sports physical therapist to get an idea after watching the video, break her fall with that wrist, what it could be. Do you compare it to those grade 1, 2, 3 sprains with an ankle? And this PT said that they're worse because it's a smaller joint, smaller ligaments, could take up to 3 months if it's a grade 3 sprain. So when they say, hey, it's not broken and the timetable's uncertain, Well, that fits the bill. Doesn't mean that it's right, but at the same token, she could be out for quite some time.
And if she's out, Willie, obviously that is a very scary proposition. And you've even wrote as much on your website. You know, they're the strangest team, and that's the team I cheer for. But they're maddening in the sense you can beat a team like Phoenix on the road, and then you've had so many stinkers as of late. And my question, kind of piggybacking off Mo at the beginning, are we going to reach perhaps a tipping point? Is there a scenario where later in this year you maybe start thinking, all right, this clearly is not working, so we're going to have to kind of scratch things and maybe start selling a few pieces as best we can?
Well, I don't know if you sell off some pieces, because the idea behind that is that I've always believed the teams that pack it in for the season are getting rid of bigger pieces to help other teams get stronger. And then you're in rebuild mode. And I don't know if the Las Vegas Aces are in full rebuild mode. Why are you going to get rid of some of your bench players or the people that are on 1-year contracts, or, you know, Kirsten Bell's on a guaranteed contract. She talked about it at Media Day this year, in that she knows that this is a big season and she's got to prove herself that if she wants to stay in Las Vegas. So I don't know if you start, you know, getting rid of pieces to the puzzle, because who are you going to get rid of? You're going to get rid of Jewel Lloyd. You're not getting rid of Asia Wilson, right? So you're going to get rid of Jackie, Chelsea, or Jewel. If somebody comes strong with like 2 first-round picks and a major name, and it's a playoff team that needs one final piece to the puzzle, and you're ready to sort of cash in, then maybe. But I don't know if the front office is going to do that. We talked about this the last time I was on the show. Wait, I think you were off that day. But, you know, the one thing that this team is missing is a GM. There's no general manager. You have President Nikki Fargas and you have Coach Becky Hammond, who's wearing 2 hats in trying to play a general manager's role. Her and Nikki are sort of trying to play that role. So you don't have someone moving those chess pieces and trying to figure those things out. Not saying that Nikki or Becky's not capable, but there are other things during the season that they have to look into. I think that they're going to have to do a lot of sort of soul searching during the All-Star break is what they're going to have to do, and answer those questions. You know, what are we going to do? How long is Asia? What's the reality? Because long-term, when you have a post player that's turning and dependent on that wrist, right, do we risk long-term damage when she was healthy and still weren't, still was a 500 team? Now they're 9-11. They're sitting in 9th place. They're hosting a Golden State team that, guys, since June 7th, what is that, 23, 24? That's 5 weeks. Since June 7th, Golden State is the number 1 defensive team in the league in holding teams to 74 points per game. They're the only team, the Valkyries are the only team in the WNBA since June 7th to hold a team to less than 41% shooting at 37.3% from the field. No other team is doing that defensively. So now they're going to come in with confidence after beating up the Aces in San Francisco against the Asia Wilson-less team. The Aces are in big trouble. The Aces are in big trouble.
I was afraid you'd say that.
Yeah. Willie G. Ramirez joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, talking some WNBA. And the thing is, Willie, you know, as good as the Aces have been for as long as they have been, it's tough because nobody's waiting for them to come back up again. I mean, as you said, they're 9-11 right now. They're in 5th place in the Western Conference. The Lynx are who the Lynx are. Phoenix has really kind of restructured things. They're 14-6. The Storm 12-8, and your Valkyries, that you just mentioned, are 10-9 coming in tomorrow. So nobody's waiting on the Aces, and nobody's gonna, really extend them much of a helping hand at this point. It's just they got to grit it out some kind of way.
They do, and so they go to San Francisco, and then they host Golden State. Then they go to Dallas on Wednesday, and then they go to the All-Star break. So in reality, let's just assume Asia Wilson's out, right? And she's not going to play in the All-Star game, assumedly. They don't come back till the 22nd. They play Atlanta, which is a very good Atlanta team with Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard, and that crew. Brittany Griner, who's stopping Brittany Griner if Asia Wilson's not there? Alyssa Smith is a fantastic player. Megan Gustafson's good, but they're not Brittany Griner caliber. They'll slow her down here and there, especially in Alyssa, but that's a tough draw. Then the Aces have to go on the road and face this gauntlet. The Indiana Fever, the Minnesota Lynx, the Dallas Wings, and the Sparks. Now, Dallas and the Sparks are below the Aces, but when you start a road trip with back-to-back games in Indiana and Minnesota, 1 day to travel, then play Dallas and Paige Beckers, which could be healthy and improved by then 1 day to travel and go to LA, which has already beaten you, with Kelsey Plum and De'Erica Hamby, who will always play some of their best games against the Aces at this point. Oh, by the way, and then come home and host the Lynx and the Valkyries. So realistically, I kid you not when I say this, over those 9 games, it's highly likely that they lose 7 or 8 of them if they don't get their act together and if Asia Wilson's out. We could be looking realistically by the time Golden State, they go back to Frisco for the second of a back-to-back. We could be looking at an 11 and 18 team, an 11 and 19 team. And at that point, you have to decide whether or not you're checking out for the season.
Yeah, I mentioned, kind of a sell-off. Really, I'm honestly more scared or worried about that part because, I don't know, maybe it's just the optimist in me, but I do feel like there's enough talent on the sheet, on the roster sheet, that if they can kind of scratch their way into some favorable playoff positioning, in a short series especially, they could do some damage. But the scenario you just described right there, the playoffs really could be in question at that point.
Well, you say shortened series, but the problem is that they've extended the playoffs this year. So those series is
you bursting my bubble yet again, Willie. Man, I'm striking out left and right. My Aces optimism right now.
I know. We need to get you a team there in Nashville so you can just focus on that Nashville team.
Now you're on to something.
And bring Candace in, right? We need Candace in there. We need Candace we need Candace Parker to bring a franchise to Nashville and then to hire Lisa Leslie as the coach. That's what needs to happen. That would be fantastic. But I just, guys, it's disheartening to watch because what we're seeing is I'll tell you one thing. One of the most underrated and one of the most hardest working rookies who should be on the all-rookie team is Aaliyah Nye, who came from Alabama and is playing her tail off every single game. I would have to say right now, for consistency in effort, maybe not in shot production because she's had a couple of stinkers, but in consistency and effort and leaving it on the floor every time, every minute, every second she's been out there, Aaliyah Nye might be the player of the Aces who has done that. So it's disheartening because this is the team that even in games where Asia has gone out, when she went out against the Liberty, when she's gone out in other games, when she's been missing, they're in the game. And then they just can't close it out. The other team's depth, experience, they have the killer instinct and the knockout punch.
Yeah, and the game against the Liberty a few nights ago really kind of falls into that descriptive there, Willie. I mean, they were in the game. They just could not do the things to stay in the game, stay out front. The Liberty hit them with a flurry late, and they didn't really have an answer in that one. So you've really got to be concerned about this team, especially, like you said, without Asia. So going to be interesting to watch how the West shapes up. What are your thoughts in the East, though? Because it's not the Liberty and everybody else at this point by any stretch.
It's not, and now here's the difference between the Liberty and the Aces, right? So the Liberty lose Jonquel Jones, which is a former MVP and a player who, I think Asia Wilson is still a 100%. Asia Wilson is still the best player on the planet, but Jonquel Jones is easily a top 10 player in the league. Some may have her in the top 5. I think if you have a guard-oriented mind, she may not be. If you have a big, if you think the bigs are what dominates the WNBA, Jonquel's got to be in your top 5. They lose her. And New York has had its struggles, but it still has Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, right? It had Natasha Cloud. It's got this well-rounded roster, and it's staying in place. It's number 3 in the league right now. It's number 1 in the Eastern Conference, just ahead of the Atlanta Dream. And you have Sandy Brondello with the coaching mind. It's not to take away from any other, what we're talking about with Becky, but Sandy doesn't have those multitude of individual issues. If something happens with the Liberty, it seems to be a collective team effort in which they can go in and fix, and they have the components, whereas the Aces don't. The East is going to be fun. I will give you that, simply because of the Atlanta Dream, and if they can make a run at the New York Liberty. The Washington Mystics, I wrote, I think my first or second notebook of this season was how fun this team was going to be, and I think we're seeing that. Because you have 2 of the most electric rookies in the league, in Kiki Iriafen and Sonia Citron. Plus, you have Brittany Sykes. Slim is having an outstanding year. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets in the voting for most improved player because she's been outstanding. Not sure what to make of the Indiana Fever, but I will say this. And, of course, I'll be called a hater, right, with all the social media platforms that you guys have and all the sharings. I swear this is the one guest appearance I make where I have like at least 40 notifications within 10 minutes because of all the reach. But people that are watching,
producer Mark Rogers at work there, folks.
Mark's getting it done. I'm not surprised that Indiana's struggling. It's like everybody thought that this was a slam dunk. They brought in all the resources to help Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, if people that love Caitlin Clark, 50% of their reason, if not more, is because of what she's done for the WNBA. It's a fair argument. She's not one of the best basketball players. I really hate to say it. She has great eyes for the court, great court vision. She can pass on a dime. You never know what she's going to do. If just as good as she gets hot 3-pointers, she can tank the other way. Her defense is still suspect. So everybody that had them penciled in because of the components they brought in around her, it's not clicking yet. It's like the Aces. What's going on with the Fever? I'm not surprised by it. Sophie Cunningham was a nice addition. The DeWanna Bonner project did not work out. Lexi Hull, great defensive stopper. I like the coaching staff, but they just I think everybody thought, hey, we're going to have all these shiny new toys and we're going to put it all in the same place and it's just going to go and it's going to work. Well, the problem is sometimes that those pieces don't fit into the mechanism. You know what I mean? You can't put those pieces together and just expect them to work. You have to work with them. And so I don't know what to make of them. And it wouldn't shock me. It would not shock me if Indiana's battling with Vegas toward the end for that final playoff spot, if that's the route we go. But I think that right now, the way that the teams have been playing, if you look at the Eastern Conference standings, is exactly how good those teams are in that order. I think the Liberty are probably just ahead of the Dream, only because of the defending champs and they have the experience. I think then the Mystics, then the Fever, the Sky, and the Sun. The Sun, unfortunately, to say this, because I really like J.C. Sheldon and Marina Mabry, and I think that they should be building around J.C. Sheldon. I don't care what the haters say. She's a great basketball player. The Sun are the worst team in the league. So the standings, as you see them in the East, are probably exactly how good, that's the rankings that they should be.
Do they stay that way?
Well, it depends. Really, here's the thing. It depends on the Liberty, and if they can, as long as they stay away from injuries, and Jonquel comes, when she comes back and she's fully healthy, and the Liberty gets stronger, the Atlanta could take them over. They're only one game back. Okay, if Atlanta, knock on wood, they don't suffer any injuries, Washington could make a run. Okay, I don't know if the Fever is catching the Mystics, but they're capable of doing it. It just depends because something's not right. Something's not working, right? I've heard the arguments that the Fever are better without Caitlin Clark. Those are the people that are saying, well, they came together. a lot of, you could say that about the Aces, but people can say, well, look at how they played collectively without Asia. They come together and they look more competitive because they play more like a team. You have to when your star goes out of the game. So it's not been founded statistically that the Fever are better without Caitlin Clark. I just don't know if Stephanie White has everybody on the same page. So I don't know, to answer your question, if it stays that way. My prediction would be that it will, because I don't know if players like Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu are going to let that team fall any further and get any worse. We got the All-Star break coming up, guys, so these teams are going to get healthy.
Willie G. Ramirez joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Always enjoy his insight on the WNBA and other matters as well. Willie, appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon. Are you going to the All-Star game?
I'm not going to go out to Indianapolis. I am going to I got some college football duties coming up in the next couple of weeks. We got the Mountain West Conference Media Days here, and then the following week we got Big Ten Media Days, so I'll be focused on that. Raiders training camp will be opening up soon, and the Aces will come back into action. So, going to take it easy, stay around town, do what I do and kind of just relax. So
we'll do that. Catch your breath, man. We appreciate you taking some time with us. We'll be catching up with you.
I'm going to leave this with you guys for the next show when you have me on. My sleeper team to be careful of that will spring from the bottom as they get healthier. Be careful for that 8th seed. Don't be surprised if the Dallas Wings shoot up. There you go.
We'll hang on to that. We will revisit it when we revisit you. Absolutely.
All right, guys.
Willie, thanks, man.
See you,
All
Willie.
right.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
They walk among us, but at 240 miles per hour, they become something more. They're thrill seekers, risk takers, and maybe just a little bit unhinged. Buckle up. This new era of speed, this racing revolution, it's just getting started.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
As it continues here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We always enjoy it when we're able to catch up with Willie G. Ramirez, and sometimes he's so good, we got to do it twice. Thus, the Throwback Thursday segment just now. Unfortunate news. We were set to visit next with former Ravenwood, former Tennessee State football standout Chris Rowland, who just completed a championship season with the DC Defenders of the UFL. Unfortunately, Chris is dealing with a personal situation that prevented him from being able to come on with us today, hoping to revisit Chris soon. In the meantime, though, we've got a couple of more in-house guys, Calvin White and David Wilson, joining us, fellow Main Street Media guys. We're going 4 screens here. David and Calvin were just at Nissan Stadium earlier today for the Titans High School Football Media Day, singular one today. Guys, how'd it go down there?
Well, it was, I think David would agree, it was a lot different than we envisioned it being. We did not know that the event was a staggered start. So there were like time frames for the teams to show up. And so I was there at 7 a.m. when I was told to be there. And you've got teams that are showing up for that 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock window, and, there's nobody there, and they're staying for 15 minutes to take pictures and talk to maybe 1 or 2 of us media folk, and then they head on out there. So we had to hang out for most of the day until that 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock period when most of the teams just decided to show up.
Right. I'll agree with Calvin here. I got there at 8 o'clock this morning. My first team did not show up till 12:02. So there was a lot of sitting and waiting on my part, helping Christina out, who we needed pictures with for just our content overall in the mid-state. But obviously, I think it's something that I really enjoyed. It helps me catch up with my new players and coaches in Wilson County, introduce myself as well, and also see some coaches that I've covered in the past. Obviously, saw some Robertson County coaches with White House Heritage, with Scott Murray and Chase Brooks over at East Robertson. So happy to see them, Dustin Wilson as well at Springfield. But I think the Titans did a good job of event. I believe we had over 60 schools in attendance, which is always great to kind of get back in the swing of things and get the content that we needed, and helps me fill stuff for my paper next week, that's for sure.
There you go. That we're kind of in a time where we're kind of looking for copy to some degree. So yeah, that works out well. David, you addressed it a little bit. We have undergone some restructuring with the sports team here at Main Street Media here over the past few weeks. David, who had been sports editor at the Robertson County Connection, is now the regional sports editor for Sumner and Rutherford counties. I'm not sure if we've spoken to that here on the show, but is that right, David? Not Sumner and Rutherford. Wilson and Rutherford, excuse me. Yeah, yes. Need to get that right. But yeah, so congrats on the promotion. Plate getting a little more full, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a ton of Murfreesboro area teams, Rutherford County teams down there as well. My head started spinning trying to keep up with them and Wilson. Obviously, Monty Hale does a great job down in Murfreesboro. Looking forward to assisting him and helping him throughout the years. And also, I kind of mentioned this last night talking on Blaine's Sumner County Media Day. It's a privilege and it's an honor to take over for somebody like Tommy in Wilson County. By no means am I Tommy Bryan. He's a who's who of this business, but looking forward to just continuing what he's built on in Wilson County and just kind of continuing our relationship and expanding our footprint in Wilson County.
You were there for Rutherford County. Eagleville was there, right?
They were. Floyd Walker. Correct.
Floyd and I were on campus in Murfreesboro at the same time. Legendary Floyd Walker. I'm glad you got to meet him. So super dude. Calvin, meanwhile, is now regional sports editor for Montgomery, Houston, and Robertson counties, right, Calvin? Right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. And so you had a good number of folks in attendance once they got there today, then, I guess.
I did. I had 3 or 4 teams from Montgomery and Robertson County there. I had Northeast, Rossview, Montgomery Central, and
Kirkwood.
Kirkwood there from Montgomery County, and then Springfield, White House Heritage, East Robertson, and Greenbrier over from Robertson County. So it was good to meet those folks and kind of have David there as a little bit of a buffer to introduce me to those folks and get all the stuff that we needed for our upcoming preview magazines.
Calvin,
I'll say this, Mo, really quickly. Kamari Blair, who just committed to South Carolina yesterday from Kirkwood on the offensive line, massive fellow. When I say
guy?
he's 6'6", 6'7", he is everything of that. I felt like a small child standing next to him. So
he's gained 70 pounds in 2 years.
He's a beefy boy, and it seems like it's paying off. You said with that commitment. This question is for both of you. I'll start with Calvin though. I always love events like this because you never know what the heck is going to happen or what the heck these kids are going to say. The blooper reel is just as fun as the real answers you get. What was the funniest moment today, or what was the most interesting thing that you maybe learned today?
Well, it's always funny because I'm still, somewhat in the age range where I'm somewhat relatable to the players. And so, you're in that range where, most of the coaches are old enough to be your parents, and then you're young enough to where you were just out of high school when, today's seniors were starting high school. So, when people that are mine and David's age go around, talk to the players, I think that we're a little bit more relatable, and they're a little bit more maybe loose around players like us. But, when I go talk to, somebody like Josiah Claybrooks, who's the running back at Kirkwood, he was the leading rusher in Montgomery County last year, ran for over 1,400 yards. I was kind of talking to him a little bit about, how excited they were to play in their new region because they dropped down from 6A to 5A this year. They're going to play in a region with most of the Clarksville teams that drop down to 5A, and then they add Dixon and Henry County, who are always really good, especially with Jeff Tomlinson over at Dixon County. And, I was kind of just asking how excited they were to play over in that region. He was like, man, I just want to get back at Dixon. We shouldn't have lost to Dixon last year. They turned it over, I want to say 6 times, and lost by 3 points to Dixon last year to ruin their undefeated season.
David, give us an update on your end.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any funny moments considering I was 4 hours in. I was a little frustrated that they came a little later today. So we were kind of business as usual when we get to Wilson County. I will say this. I think a takeaway that I had, and I've been kind of singing their praises, all through the offseason, just kind of the mindset they've had. I'm really impressed with Green Hill football and Coach Josh Crouch. They did not end the season last year the way any of us thought they would. They were an undefeated region champ going into the playoffs, and they lost in the first round to Blackman by 31 points. And I feel that revenge mindset on their mind. They're very businesslike this offseason. And you could tell with the way they've scheduled. I was fortunate enough to talk to him today. Scheduling Beach, Page, and Ravenwood your first 3 weeks is like a murderer's row. But he said it was necessary for us. He said winning football games is cool, and winning non-region football games is cool. But we want to go far in the playoffs and play in meaningful games in the postseason. So I'm just really impressed by them. And obviously, Mizadanian is a guy for them on defense who committed to Army. Just a great young man, very personable. And then obviously really excited about Cannon Burrows. So they're a team that I was really impressed with. And I like the same things I heard from Wilson Central. They're a team looking to make the playoffs this year. They did not last year. And then Lebanon, Coach Chuck Gentry has been there a while, does a great job. They were the 4th seed in a really talented region, 4-6A last year. So, Wilson County is well represented. Mount Juliet Christian was there as well, but very businesslike, I would say, and a long-winded answer from Wilson County. They're ready to get going, and they're ready to get the ball and put it on the ground.
They still got a little while to wait. But, David, to your point regarding Green Hill, it's interesting. And, I don't necessarily point this next comment at Josh Crouch and the Hawks, but you see that from time to time where folks kind of run through a regular season unscathed like that, and then all of a sudden they get punched in the mouth and aren't necessarily prepared to punch back. Sometimes you need that Beach Page Ravenwood test at some point just to see how you're going to respond to adversity when you have to respond to adversity. So kudos to Coach Crouch and that staff over there for going out and seeking out some upgraded competition. You know, I don't know what their schedule looked like last year, but you know, that's a tough way to go out. Like you said, losing to Blackman by 30, or losing to anybody by 31 in the opening round after you've gone 10-0 through the regular season. But it sounds like Coach Crouch and those guys kind of got their lesson out of it, and they'll be a team to watch, like you said, with Burroughs in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Calvin can speak to this as well. He experienced this last year in Montgomery County. Clarksville was another team that was an undefeated region championship that fell, or region champion, excuse me, that fell in the first round. And, you know, Josh Crouch was very candid with me this afternoon that we weren't very competitive in the Blackman game. We weren't competitive 2 years ago when we played against Riverdale and lost in the playoffs. So in order for us to get where we want to go and to win a state championship and be a contender, it is necessary for us to play this schedule to prepare ourselves. And you look at his roster, they're prepared for it as well. They have 37 seniors on their roster. They have 9 returners on defense and 7 on offense. So there are a lot of turnover and a lot of faces that have played a lot of football for Green Hill. So they're going to be ready to go. And, you know, they're going to be in a special environment. I've kind of mentioned this on the show as well. It's a Thursday night game when they play against Beach. It's going to be on TV. It's going to be one of the lone games across the mid-state. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on that game with a Beach Bucks team coming in who kind of had that same feeling of a sour taste in their mouth the way last year ended when they lost to Springfield at the quarterfinals at home.
You guys mentioned that a lot of the teams in y'all's particular coverage area were kind of businesslike or seemingly buttoned up a little bit. Was there any, whether it was in your coverage area or not, was there any 1 or 2 teams that either showed up and were really kind of loosey-goosey, or 1 or 2 teams that showed up and everybody kind of took notice as if to say, oh, these guys just walked in the room, kind of the power brokers, if you will?
I want to say it was Battleground Academy.
Oh, yeah.
They walked in and it looked like they brought an SEC offensive line in there. You know, they brought in 3 or 4 dudes that were all at least, you know, probably 6'3", 6'4", you know, had some beef on them. But when those dudes walked in, it's like everybody was looking at them.
I'll second that. BGA looked really good. I think there's always this kind of ooh and ah when Oakland walks in the building. You know, Oakland, they're a perennial state championship contender. I think East Robertson, speaking on my former group over there, they're a little swaggy group. They got a lot of confidence, a little swagger with Zach Groves and Kason Young walk in there. They look clean and cut. They're ready to go. But I'll second that. BGA looked really kind of intimidating. And then I think anytime Oakland walks in the room, they command attention as well.
I've got a friend, defensive line coach Jack Pittman, that will be pleased to hear what you all have said about his Battleground Academy Wildcats. And I'm trying to look. They've got a lineman, Nate Fleming, who's a rising senior this year, and I think he committed not too long ago. I'm trying to find it. I want to say Columbia University. He's going Ivy. But that BGA team advanced to the Division II AA state finals last year before losing to CPA. So they have definitely got that that business-like mentality to them as well. In addition to Fleming, quarterback Caden Marable is also committed to Columbia. So they are sending some guys on, and Bobby Bentley's done a great job over there. And I get the impression that they are not at all satisfied with that runner-up finish in D2 AA from last year. So that's an interesting read that y'all had on BGA there. David Wilson and Calvin White joining us from Main Street Media. Both were on hand for the Tennessee Titans High School Football Media Day earlier today down at Nissan Stadium. Anything else jump out at y'all from down there?
Do you think I won best dressed with the pink shirt and the chain? Joe Spears made a nice comment about the pink shirt. Looks good, a little golf shirt, but you got to be colorful when you come to events like this. You got to have a little personality. Can't be bland. So you got to represent a little bit. So I thought the pink shirt was, and the top button unbuttoned with the chain showing was a nice little show on my behalf. So I feel good about this. I don't feel good about the hair kind of dwindling at the top. We'll ignore that, but I thought everything from here looked pretty good.
Aura checks out, David.
Yeah, I
there we
mean,
go.
you
Good.
got to, like you said, you got to represent. You got to make sure they know who you are, and so, good job, way to represent. We appreciate always when our teammates are carrying the Main Street Media banner out there in such fashion. Fashion. See what I did there? David Wilson, Calvin White joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Both these guys have been on the screen here in recent weeks, picking up for Wade and I, kind of being out of pocket here over the last little bit. And I'm sure you're going to see more of them as we go forward. So look forward to that. Guys, we appreciate you pinch hitting for Chris Rowland on really, really short notice. Good job. Thanks.
Thanks,
All right,
Bob.
guys. Y'all have a good one.
See you, boys.
All right. Let's take a break. Let's get to our final segment of the day here on Throwback Thursday. It is the grab bag. Stick around when we come back on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
There's a line that links us all. Most of the time, we don't even think about it, but it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
It is the final segment of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. If you have a 15-game unbeaten streak broken on the road, then you come home and you win again, did you really lose?
It's a fair question. Some were wondering.
People are saying, Nashville coming back from a tough 2-1 loss at Inter Miami over the weekend, ending their 15-game unbeaten streak. Answered about as emphatically as you possibly could with a dominant 3-0 win over a pretty good Columbus Crew at Geodis Park last night. 2-0 in the first half. They announced their presence with authority, it felt like.
Yeah, dominated from start to finish. It was back to school last night, where they welcomed and recognized a lot of folks in the Metro school system, which a lot of folks also in the Metro school system didn't really want the reminder that it's back to school night, but I digress.
July 16th, I can see where that would be the case.
But nevertheless, it worked out, and the Columbus Crew were the ones, in fact, that were taken to school, because you're right. Nashville benefiting from an early on goal. By the time I had turned the match on Apple TV, it was already 1-0, and Nashville really threatened to just obliterate Columbus on a number of different occasions. This was a match, I forget the opponent earlier this year. This was a match where you weren't maybe thinking 5 or 6 goals you
The
know,
Chicago
but it had,
Fire.
yeah, thank you. But it had the very familiar makings. There was just a couple moments after that first goal, Mukhtar is sprung on a fast break and lays one off to Surridge. If he had chipped, maybe it's a goal right there. But Surridge tackled from behind, and you know that's a chance that goes begging. But there were several of those opportunities. Nashville was only up 2-0 early, but it felt like it could have been more. And then really kind of put the pressure on, like you said, a really good Columbus team. That was a resounding win, a statement win in many regards for Nashville last night.
I feel like it's a statement win. I felt like it was a statement game because how do you respond after you've not lost since April 29th until this past weekend? You've gone almost 3 full months without a loss. And so to come back in here, they had to get a point, if not all 3. They got all 3. Just feels like a huge performance given the circumstances.
Yeah, like you said, yeah, coming in to last week, you know, I whispered it on this show last week. I said, man, this feels like a touchy match on Saturday. Miami has played well, and it would be tough for Nashville to go in and get a win, certainly, maybe even get a point. But it didn't play out that way. But you respond with this effort. That is massive. And it was a big win. I mean, yeah, the final score was impressive. Yeah, beating the opponent was impressive. But you really kind of, like we started off this segment, you kind of reintroduce yourselves and maybe get a new streak going. Mo, they've got 11 matches remaining at home this season, with 11 matches, I should say. They've already matched their records for wins with 13 that was set in 22 and also tied in 23. They got Walker Zimmerman back in the starting lineup, his first start since the last day of May in a match versus New York. So, I mean, everything is kind of clicking, which unfortunately means it's just in time for that All-Star break coming up here sooner than later. So tough break in that regard. But yes, we saw some of the very, very best. This is not the absolute highest end of what you expect or what you maybe want from BJ Callahan, but this is the absolute blueprint. Possession flowing football, kind of attacking, creating extra chances, and finishing goals. And the fact that they posted a shutout as well, a clean sheet, held up at the back by Joe Willis. I mean, that is the complete experience for this team that really is playing at a high level right now.
Stealing from Will Bowling at Will_Bowling 1L on Twitter. Nashville SC has now won all 7 of its MLS rematches this season. They defeated Charlotte 2-1 the second time around. They got the Red Bulls 2-1. They got the Revolution 3-2. They blanked Chicago 2-0. DC United 1-0. The Philadelphia Union 1-0. And last night 3-0 against the Crew. I don't know exactly what it says, but it says something. Maybe preparation. I'm not sure. And I don't know how they did the first time around against them, but against teams that should be familiar with them, that they're familiar with, they've taken care of business.
Taking care of business, and they're right back in that mix suddenly. You know, whatever blip in the radar there was, they're right back in, you know, that discussion for the Supporters Shield, you know, for the best regular season performance. They have kind of answered a little bit of everything. Johnny Perez was back in the lineup after missing the match Saturday due to a red card suspension. I mentioned Zimmerman being back in the starting lineup. Nahar, the All-Star, the original All-Star, as we discussed earlier this week, he had one of the most picturesque room service dimes you will ever see to start a goal-scoring opportunity for Nashville. Everybody is playing well. Surridge and Mukhtar are playing out of their minds up top. Tagseth, who's cameo and debuting the jerseys, the full 2.5-minute clip yesterday is a thing of beauty. Shout out to Tagseth and shout out to Soccer Moses for helping put that all together. Everything about this team is flowing in the right direction right now, which is crazy to think about considering where they were this time last year.
That's what is so amazing to me, as bad as they were last year, even once BJ Callahan took things over midseason from Gary Smith. The turnaround is just stunning to me. Now, I mean, again, I'm not a huge soccer fan, but I've watched some sports. And from what they did to what they're doing, is just pretty amazing to me.
Absolutely. And I mean, it kind of shows, Valera's told us as much, and Ben Wright, who's been with us, has said as much. I mean, it takes a little time. And BJ gets hired last year, and Nashville was already kind of on a very downward trend. And in soccer in particular, it is really difficult to have such a shift in philosophy take place that quickly. And so it's kind of, in some regards, we shouldn't be totally surprised that they didn't really get things turned around at any point last season. But yes, we are seeing the absolute best of BJ Callahan. We're seeing the absolute best of NSC right now. Who knows kind of how the rest of the season will unfold? We mentioned they got the U.S. Open Cup. We obviously now have mentioned the Supporters Shield, and then you still got your eyes on the MLS Cup for the postseason champ. So all that's in play, which is crazy to think about for this team.
They've got Toronto FC coming to the Castle Saturday night, their final game before the All-Star game, Wednesday out at Austin, and then they resume. They've got a quick turn. They go out to San Diego next Friday. So that should be a fun trip.
Yep, and then they got a friendly versus Aston Villa in a couple weeks at home at Geodis. And so if you're looking for an excuse to get out and support these guys, Toronto, I mean, weather be what weather be, but you're not going to find a better opportunity to go out and see a good performance. Toronto kind of middling in the table, not to say that they can't come in and play well, but the way Nashville is playing, you certainly hope that or anticipate they take care of business.
Absolutely. The Nashville Predators announced their 25-26 schedule earlier today. And again, computer's not cooperating with me. 5-game homestand early. They open on October 9th at home against Columbus. They play a couple of contests over in Sweden against the Penguins, and they go on a 7-game road trip through December, late December, early January, as they try to put a better product out than last year's 30-44-8 finish.
Yeah, talk about two different ends of the spectrum. For all the stuff that Nashville soccer's got going on right now, man, it is. I'm holding out hope, and maybe they can get it turned around, but it does not look promising for the Preds heading into this year. I know we're excited. The good news is everybody's record is 0-0-0, but man, they have a long, similar to what NSC did last year. It'll be kind of up to them to try and get some juice going into this new campaign.
The two-time defending Stanley Cup champs, the Panthers, come into Bridgestone on November 4th. Nashville goes to Sunrise on December 4th. Check out NashvillePredators.com for the entire schedule. We mentioned the WNBA All-Star Game on Saturday. Again, we've got Doug Feinberg visiting with us tomorrow to talk more about that. But Brittany Sykes from the Washington Mystics and Brianna Jones from the Atlanta Dream will be replacing Caitlin Clark and Satu Sabali on Team Clark. I'm not sure if they will both step into the starting lineup or how that will work, but those are the two replacements for the injured Clark and Sabali. No announcement yet as to a replacement for Clark in the 3-point shooting contest, but that's what we know with regards to the ball game. You know, we talked, I guess one day last week maybe, about Camille Pierre's transferring from Vanderbilt or leaving Vanderbilt, maybe a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, Camille has landed on a state which had recruited her out of high school, and without the transfer portal, because she was late leaving, she had to actually enroll at NC State and then be accepted onto the basketball team, is what it seems like. We'll get more into that tomorrow, because that's going to wrap up today's Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance. And be sure and join us here tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Wade and I will both be here. Also, Doug Feinberg from the Associated Press and Hilaire Shabilla talking a little bit more footy. We'll see y'all.